Good day and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. Welcome to this month's live Q&A. I'm glad to host another one of these. The weeks are quite long. So every week I get to release a video about something trending. And I kind of look forward to the live Q&A because it gives me an opportunity to be direct and perhaps beneficial or useful to you. And so I hope that's the same feeling for you, where you are able to, look forward to an audience or a time with me. I'm no celebrity. I'm just a guy who loves the family unit. And I'm always keen to get information to you quickly too. And that's why we release videos every week, so that, you're armed every week. Because the rogue is not sleeping. The internet rogue is not sleeping. And so it's vital that we are awake, informed, and obviously in that sense, armed to fight these guys off, guys and girls. I'm finding very quickly that girls are also doing this. And that's not how we were trained. the picture, and I hate to go into this, perhaps I should just stop there. But yes, the people doing this harm or these things are not exclusively men. You have females also doing the same. So ours is not to worry so much about that, because we have no control over the people who mean us harm. What we have control over is how we inform ourselves and how well prepared we are. I had an opportunity to speak or engage with someone who is not part of the community. At least it wasn't until I left him. And it became very clear that, yes, the clinic's premise or mandate is to inform parents, primarily parents, inform them and arm them so that they get technically aware, get to a level where they are on par. And in my humble view, get past the knowledge that their kids have so that they can truly parent them wholesale. And that's important. So whilst I was having this engagement with Mada is his name, it became clear to me that we don't only offer technical advice, because he wanted to get a brief. What do you do? What does the channel do? And I found it difficult just focusing or concentrating only on tech or technical topics. And I found myself actually dwelling more on the emotional, the human part of what the channel does or stands for. We're here to hold hands with parents, because some journeys are worse than others. Some parents are in a real mess right now when it comes to the woes of the internet. And so there's a lot of hand holding and there's a lot of, dialogue that is real and not just tech or technically focused. So we bring value, and you are the ones, you in the community are the ones who are faithful, loyal, and you're the ones prompting this discussion. So when you go through the videos, on the portal, they're not just this problem, do technical fix 1, 2, 3. No, there's a human element, and hopefully during our time together we'll be able to touch on that. As I always do each month, I prepare just in case I don't get enough questions. Some people just like to listen, and that's okay, because learning is twofold, or at least several pronged, if you like. So you can't ask questions unless you understand what we're dealing with. And so I get that. So that in that advice, I have to prepare a topic or prepare a focus so that we can at least have something doing in the hour. Thankfully for YouTube, the YouTube and Facebook communities, this is saved as an archive, so you can go back. I'd rather you're here now, but I know how Saturdays are. Like I keep saying, I'm still playing around with the ideas of frequency. Perhaps the show needs to happen more frequently, and perhaps on a different day. The jury's out, but I am a willing servant. Okay? All right. So I'll kick it off, because you would have received the jingle or the Facebook alert or YouTube alert that we're going to be dealing with tech and internet and what our kids should know by now. And our focus is just going to be on that. What should our kids know at this time in our world? and of course there is a focus. The focus can't necessarily be for kids that are a certain age. This cuts across the moment you put an iPad in a child's hands, to help them keep calm, to help distract them. That's what this is. So we're gonna be quite broad. I am going to be quite broad in the way I get this to you. So it's important that you pay attention. No kids are off limit. Okay. Interestingly, Mada, who I spoke to, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name well. It just has the child is quite young, and when I mean young, but he is investing early. At least he wants to invest early in knowledge, information, so that when the child does get to an age where they're going to be exposed to tech and the internet, that they're not caught sleeping, and I encouraged him that it's not a one-way trip, or it's not a one-person trip, that you need to have your spouse, with you on this journey, your significant other on this journey. So it's important, really important, that no one feels this is too big for me. Start now so that you'll be ready then. Okay. All right. So we'll touch on tech. We'll touch on internet. We'll touch on situation awareness. We'll touch on blind obedience. And those things, I know that I've casually, mentioned them, but they're important. If you're just arriving, if you're just, joining the broadcast, please holler in the comments so that I know that I have people with me. I can see the viewer count, but I'm not hearing you or seeing you. So all you have to do is send a comment. I've already said hi and welcome to this month's live Q&A. Let me feel your presence. And also why this is important is because I get to know, one, what part of the world you're, tuning in from, and what platform. Are you coming in through YouTube or are you coming in through Facebook? When I build my LinkedIn family, Twitter family, perhaps I will extend this video to them too. But please don't be shy. Say hello in the comments. Okay. So I would start. I would start easily by discussing situation awareness. And I know that we generally have this belief, and it's not wrong. We have a belief that God is in control of everything we do. Absolutely couldn't agree more. That's not the focus. The focus is, yes, He is able, and He is the one orchestrating things concerning us. But we have a responsibility. A mature relationship, a good relationship, is twofold. We have a responsibility. At the least, due diligence. We know the dangers that are out there. Evidently, God knows. And if you're not intending to preach, every situation has a purpose. And only the discerning understand what that purpose is. So as parents, our remit is to guide and, to a large extent, guard our young ones. Okay? So when we speak about situation awareness, hello, Valerie. So that's someone from Asia, making herself known. Thank you for your company. Always means much to me. Thank you so much. Okay. So we're talking about situation awareness. We have a responsibility to empower our young ones with knowledge. Okay. So yes, God is in control, but passing it down, we as parents are overseers over our children. So we have a responsibility to guide them. All right. So we talk about situation awareness. We talk about being aware when you go out on the streets, be able to recognize dangers and things like that on the streets. Then online, obviously, we have also discussed many videos on the portal about red flags, what to look out for and what to avoid. These things are things that we do or should do diligently. Okay. So I when I was coming up with the topic or the brief for this broadcast today, I was tempted to use a topic like, how to train our kids to be streetwise. And I know that perhaps it would have gotten a lot of, pull. And I didn't want it to be a clickbait either. But somehow I felt that would be a topic that would get people, flooding in. But I don't want to mislead you. We certainly don't want our kids to be streetwise because the street is unsafe. But we want them to be aware. We want them to be empowered with the knowledge required that when they're out on the streets, they know there's a particular way to behave. And when they're out online, that also is extended. They do the same thing. So we don't see the online arena as any different from a street. If you ignore that, you do it at your own peril, because they are, comparable. Online and on premise or face to face, they're on par. If you're really aware or discerning at this time, that's the online is the new street, if not even more so. So we've got to treat online affairs as if our kids are on the street. So if we're giving them advice on don't speak to strangers when you see them on the street, that same advice, even more so, should apply on our engagements or their engagements while they are online. Okay. Now, if we're talking about situation awareness, what exactly have I found that is frustrating the efforts of parents or of guardians or of babysitters, people who have jurisdiction over our young ones? What am I seeing that over time, what am I seeing that is preventing our kids from flourishing when it comes to being aware of things on the street or online? And the number one point that I've found is innocence. Our young ones are so innocent, and they have a right to be, which is quite frustrating. You have a right to go out of your house and not expect danger or not expect harm. That's a right. And it's a basic human right that you should be able to go about your affairs without, worrying about whether someone is not liking you for whatever reason. But that's not quite what it is. Our world is dangerous. Our world is decadent. They are pursuing evil continually. And so we've got in that innocence, we've got to advise them that, it's not your fault, son. It's not your fault that these things are happening. Never feel guilty, for example, for falling foul to a scam. Someone means you harm and you give out all your money and you come back to mom or dad and you're feeling rotten. It's not your fault that someone has meant you harm and have succeeded in getting you robbed. That's not your fault. The reason why that's important to communicate to our kids is because if things happen in their world and they feel it's their fault, the likelihood is they're not going to inform you. Unless you see it happen, you won't know what has happened. So if we're encouraging our kids, and we start early, we're encouraging our kids to be transparent. Let them know that being innocent is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Being vulnerable in a way is also not a bad thing, because you can't help how you are or how you think, and you're not responsible for any other person who is wishing you harm. You're not responsible for being a victim to a robbery, a scam. That's not you, as a child. But as an adult, even though I agree to some extent that that's also the case, we have a responsibility to lead from the front, one, and a responsibility to the ones God has given us to take care of. So we've got to inform them, get them, armed, so that guilt goes away immediately whenever they get scammed. Rather than feel guilty, they just feel they've been a victim. Do everything that you can to protect yourself, your family, and those connected to you. And that's it. Life goes on, okay? So we've got to make them, in their innocence, make them feel comfortable to come to us and speak to us about anything. A child that is that open and candid with a parent, awesome relationship, awesome, and we're extending it to internet affairs, tech affairs, okay? So the first point I want us to harness from being situation aware, if you like, would be to observe the innocence that our children generally have and cater for that. Make sure that they're not vulnerable or they're not exposed when they engage online and on the street. Something came up whilst I was researching this, and I know I've released several videos. Common things like, let's see, wearing headphones when you go outside, especially the noise cancelling ones. How are you supposed to be aware of your surroundings if you wear noise cancelling headphones? Outside. Inside, like I said in that video, it's okay because you're in your home, you've locked your door, you can noise cancel till, Bose comes and parks their bus in your house. Nobody cares. Nobody should care but you, because you're safe in your home. But going outside, as sweet as it would be that the world is switched off while you're engaging in your music, why would you use noise cancelling? I choose to call it, when you use it outside, ambience cancelling. Because for you to observe situations or to understand situations, ambience, which is your surroundings, plays a huge part. And so you need that awareness. You need the awareness of your surroundings to understand the situation or situations that could come up. By canceling that noise or that awareness, you're exposing yourself. You become an easy mugging target. We're talking about situation awareness. How can you appreciate the situation outside, online, if you are blocking or canceling the things that will help you make an informed choice? So wearing headphones outside is a big no-no, especially noise cancelling headphones. The cheap ones that don't cancel allow you listen to the music and still be perceptive to some extent. But still, we don't advise that you have two headphones, earphones or headphones covering your ears when you're outside if you want to be situation aware, because really you're not, because you're concentrating on something else. and you become a mugging target. We've joked, and I think I did joke about it when I said it in the video that you can get on the portal, the YouTube channel's portal. I said that if you must have one earbud or earphone here and leave the other one hanging, I even extended it to people who are closer, made them understand that that is for your safety, because having one open, at least you can perceive to some extent whilst you're banging your music on the other, but don't block the noise or the ambience entirely, because you become unaware of situations around you. So that's one point I wanted to, or additional point I wanted to make. But also we find that these whole headphones, white, anytime you wear a white headphone, everyone knows you are a fan of Apple. So you're wearing expensive headphones. All right. So if you have the earbud in your ear, once you see it and it's white, everybody, or anybody who is anybody, will know that you're wearing an expensive set of earphones or earbuds. What does that make you? Remember I said at the beginning that we live in an unfair world. So quit crying about how unfair the world is. The world is unfair. That's not going to change. You can change. You're not changing because it's the only thing to do. It's wisdom. Frustrate these crooks and rogues in their tracks by doing these little things. They're subtle, but they go a long way. Okay? So you have easily recognizable phones like the iPhone. iPhone has 3 cameras, 2 cameras. The moment anybody sees you with those things in your ear, they know you have an expensive phone. And of course, if you're walking in a park and let's say you're also probably wearing a earbud, but you're walking in a park in general and you have that thing on your ear or showing, people know what you're carrying. Okay, so these little things will help keep the rogue away. A rogue will see 2 people, one phone, maybe an iPhone XR, and another phone, iPhone 13 and above. Which one do you think the person is going to go for? Not that they should go for any, but they're going to go for one. And they're definitely aware that the 3-camera phone is more expensive than the 1 or 2. So don't make it easy. Don't show off. Oh, people need to know that you have an earbud. So you put it in, and if you put those things in, they cancel the noise, like I've said earlier. And people are not aware that someone is following them. When you don't have the earbuds in, you are aware. They call it perception or perceptive view. You are aware. Or perspective? You get the idea that you are aware and you can discern the things around you. And those things are vital. So we teach our kids, show off in your house, show off in your, the safety of your home. Don't do it outside. So I'm still on situation awareness outside the house. I'll come to the stuff that is also crucially important inside. So you have, and I'm still keeping an eye on the comments. Say hello if you're just joining or just touching down. And if you have a question, please put a Q in front of your question so that I can, pick it up quickly and address it when that time comes. Okay. So we're mentioning or talking about situation awareness and how important it is that the vulnerability and the innocence that our kids naturally have is being exploited by crooks and rogues. And then we must inform them to do these subtle things that will put the rogue off track and keep them safe when they're outside. So we're dealing with the outside, and we'll sort of come to the inside, rather than online perspective. So we're still on the outside. We're saying don't wear earbuds or those noise cancelling headphones when you're outside, because you become an easy mugging target You're not aware of your surroundings and the situations around you. You will not know that someone is following you if you have those things on, because it just puts you in a world. We said headphones typically from Apple are white colored, and if you have those in, people know you're wearing expensive gear. You become an easy mugging target if you're walking in a park, for example. Okay. We also mentioned phones these days. Again, these are marketing ploys. Those 3 cameras will suggest that you have an expensive phone, like the iPhones, the Samsungs, and all those. And going about your business, which you're entitled to, without knowing that the people around you who don't like that you have that phone and want to do you harm, you've got to be aware of that. And so we must inform our young ones, to be aware of those things. Yes, you're entitled to go anywhere you like, but for safety, when you're on the street, it is a good thing, okay, to keep them away by being as subtle, not showy, subtle as possible. Okay, as much as possible, we as parents also have to explain things to our young ones at an early age. Don't keep it till they're 16 when they're set in their ways. It becomes too difficult to have those conversations because they're well tuned at that time. God forbid you've not engaged them for as long as that. But if you are a parent on the platform who has younger kids, don't put it off. Train them, expose them to all this information I'm giving you, because it will keep them safe. All right. We're not falling prey or, walking or engaging by the tune the rogue or the crook sets. It's just wisdom. Okay. So that if they do have plans to attack or engage our kids in a negative way, it won't be made easy. So we can speak to them. Okay. Our kids, that is. All right. So it is also, in fact, I again, whilst researching this, I picked up that it's also important at a very early age to teach our kids critical thinking. You really can't teach them, but you can do things that will kind of encourage them to think for themselves, and not just give in to anything that they hear. Thankfully, certainly in the developed world, the curriculum encourages that. If you ask me, unsuccessfully at times, but at least they encourage it. Okay. So it's important that you allow kids to think. Don't put them or don't tell them, don't ask questions. Why? Don't ask me why and feel that they're being rude, because that's helping them think critically. We want them to think for themselves. Yes, you inform them like I've asked you to. But what they do at the moment they're engaged with a rogue is important. They think on their feet. They can only do that if they've been encouraged in the past during your journey with them to think for themselves. As much as possible as parents, we must be patient. We must explain things to them from a very early age. And when we can't answer certain questions, well, we can say something like, "That's a good question, son or daughter, and I want you to know the answer. But I also want to know the answer too. That you're going to go away and research it. There's no shame in not knowing. Okay? If you don't know something, you don't know, and admit it. If you're vulnerable and open, to your young one about those things, they feel confident. Oh, mom's not pompous, dad's not pompous. They're also on a journey. They're going to learn, and that journey to learn together is awesome. And we as parents miss that opportunity every now and then. Okay, so that pretty much covers what I want to, and that was a long breakdown of situation awareness, family clinic or family cyber clinic style. Okay, that's important that you get to know that information. You see, we didn't speak about tech per se. This is just common sense, things we can do, things we have control over. Okay, all right. So that would be what I want to cover on situation awareness. And I did mention something about blind obedience. Asking kids to obey and follow our orders, blindly is a great way to discourage them from, critically thinking or critical thinking development. You mislead them when, you just say, do this because I say so. No, take time. Take time and explain, explain those things to them. It's good that they follow orders, but let them not follow orders blindly. Encourage them, to ask questions. But Dad, why? But Mom, why? And don't put those questions off. Allow them get an answer. And of course, you encourage yourself to do research too, so that you are informed and available to assist your young one at all times, okay? And there's no shame in not knowing. Remember, I said that, okay? All right, so that's all I want to cover for situation awareness. We've mentioned things that we do whilst on the street, whilst we're out of the house, while we are offline. Now we want to focus on things that we can do to be aware also whilst we are online. And one big thing that we've mentioned you must do, whether you like it or not, your young ones are online. Okay? If you have a child who, let's say, is 6, they've done something online. If they've not done something online under your watch, they've done it in school. Okay? Most of the curricula in schools, you get something online. So they've seen what online does, what online brings, and all that. So our kids, if you didn't know this now, rather than know it now, are going to engage online. Whether they don't do it under your nose, they'll do it in school. All right. At some point, they will even, your hands will be forced that you have to pay a premium to get a laptop. And that laptop has to be internet ready so that they can do their homework and all that. So they're going to be online. All right. And that will also mean at a certain age, and I hope it's a certain age, for the clinic, we advise that they have no business on social media until they are 13. So at some point, they're going to get onto social media. And so I'm sort of talking about people who are 13 and above now, parents who have young ones who are that age, all right? The one thing you can do to prevent them from being exposed while on the internet or being situation aware is for them, whilst they're on social media, to harden their social media platforms, okay? And you do that by just going into the profile and making sure that you are exposing your content that you are certain you are unhappy to share to people. You harden it, and that it's only going to people you want the information to go to, and you just don't have an open profile for the public, okay? That narrows down the arena, the engagement arena. You don't have anybody knowing stuff about you. We shared a video the other week about the possibility that you've shared pictures that will show your location or where you live. So you have a picture, the selfie you're doing, and just here there's 15. And then on the picture you're sharing, it also has metadata that tells them it's Charles Street or James's Street. So that's 15 James's Street, and this is you. You've given the crook 3 things to build a profile about you. Okay? So that's not the focus of our engagement today. I'm just saying that you need to lock down your social media profile so that only the intended people get to see what you have decided to share. And when you're sharing, you've got to share responsibly. Make sure that you want to share these things, but do those little due diligence things that we ask you to do. So harden your social media profile. And also get our kids, the second point, get your kids to be aware of clickbaits. When I started the video, I said I could have used the topic, to get people to click and come and view and come and be with us. I thought against it because that's not our ethos. We want the people who need this information to click on it. I don't want to trick you into clicking. But the rogue or the crook will present things to our kids, our young ones, that profile, that demographic, will present them links to click on to get a free PS5 or an Xbox, whatever it's called these days, And there's a saying, if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. So if things are too outrageously or outrageous, then stay away from it. If it looks weird, it is weird. Okay? Let that instinct, which hopefully you and your parents or you and your son or daughter have built over time, kick in. So you've got to teach them to be aware of clickbaits. Let them not click on things that promise a huge return with little input. Those are usually red flags, So keep them by your side and let them know that these things are red flags that must be avoided like the plague. Okay? So hardening one social media, your kid's social media platform, is definitely a thing. And we encourage it. We encourage that you do that. Okay? Obviously, we also advise, a third point, that you tell them not to give out personal information online. Because if you give if you give a rogue, or like I've just mentioned, if you give the crook a yard, they'll take a mile and they will maim you. Absolutely maim you. And we don't want that for you. Okay? So don't give information like your address, which you'd probably have done by taking a selfie by your door and not cleaning up the metadata of your location. You do that. You've just given out personal information. In fact, you've given two things: your house number, street number, two. Basically, your address. Okay, third, and you the picture. So they have those three things. Next thing they will look for, they try to get, will be a password of some sort. Your passport number, your driver license number, or your, bank cards, all that. If they assemble enough information and build that profile, they are going to do you harm. And that's guaranteed. So inform them never to give out personal information while they engage online. Now, we've also discussed this, chat rooms, our kids, when they play games online, it beats me. It's convenient for some, but why would you have a chat room online? I can see that, okay, you want to, have the feeling that you are in the same room playing the game. So chatting, having a headphone and earbud and all that makes the experience huge. I get that. But we still have an assumption, or we have lots of assumptions, that the person on the other side of the phone, if you're the type that plays with anybody, you don't know who is playing. These days we know that people can create fake profiles, pretend to be a child, and they're really, meaning harm. The adults who are pretending to be children. They'll put a picture, a cartoony picture, or a picture of a child so that you can relate. They'll use language that you understand in the chat messages, and all that gets you comfortable, especially if the person is also quite good at what they do. So they play the games that you're playing very well. You want to play with the best. So those chats can mature into something dangerous. Okay? And a child who is not attentive or not informed by a parent can let their guards down because they're playing a game. They are not seeing the red flags that you and I will see from a mile off. So we must teach them to pay attention. We talked about critical thinking. If something they're seeing or a discussion they're having is getting weird, then the person is weird and they must tell an adult. They must tell you. Okay? Most of these people who play games want to meet up. The kid must be aware that that's a big red flag. If you have started a game online, it stays online. And there are no offshoots to something on premise or face to face. All right. We also urge you to encourage your young one to be transparent. You must tell them it's not their fault. We spoke about it earlier. It's not their fault if they are victims of an online scam. An online scam is designed to defraud. Okay, so you are a victim. And that's it. So if you've given out information, unknowingly to a crook and they have maimed you, it is not your fault. Well, it kind of is, but you shouldn't drool on it. Actually, as a child, you would say, actually, let me come out as clean as I intended. It's not the fault of the child if they're a victim of an online scam. An online scam is designed to defraud. That is where I end that, okay? So our kids cannot go about feeling guilty that they caused harm to themselves and to people connected to them. That's on the crook. That's on the rogue, okay? What we can do, however, the aftermath, is to train our kids to be, more subtle with the information that they share online. Yeah, that just sounds better. In fact, it is better. And I'm urging us to engage them. So encourage them to be transparent. And we must tell them it's not their fault if they're victims of an online scam. Okay? I have spoken for close to 40 minutes and I can't see a question come through. So I may just continue. Okay? It's important, really important that we understand these things. And if we understand them as parents, as guardians, as those who are responsible for a child, if we understand them, the likelihood are those connected to us, children, kids, will understand them too, or at least we'll make an effort to get them to think the same way. Okay? So it is unfortunate that in our world, in our time in the world in 2022, things are getting out of hand. In fact, I thought of bringing this also up. I don't think there's any place in the world right now that is not experiencing some hardship, cost of living, energy bills, and all those things. I can't imagine there's anywhere in the world right now that would not understand if I, mentioned that whilst we're engaging. Things are hard. Things are hard. And I think this would be the only time in the UK where I'm acknowledging God has been faithful. He is still faithful. He doesn't change. We are the ones who change. But I'm seeing it live and direct. I think that's an age thing, that I am in a place now where I can observe things better, less noise, so I can focus more. But it could also mean that it's beginning to sting. You look at what's left after. It stings. The reason why I brought that up is because many are desperate. Many can't handle the desperation. And so they look for easy ways to advance, easy ways to get money, to get stuff. And that's why we spent a lot of time talking about mugging, being an easy mugging target. If you're the type that is outgoing, you've got to be careful. I'm talking to the parents now. You've got to be careful, and you're only doing that by engaging your young ones who want to go out. Why not? They want to go out. And if they want to go out, all you can do, because you can't micromanage them all the time, you're going to have to hold off and allow them experience life, but let it be in an informed way. So you're engaging them, teaching them, and guarding them as best as you can. Okay? Those things help. Those things help them in their journey in this decadent world, in this desperate world. Okay? Yeah. Okay, we've got a question, and so glad. And I'm going to put it on the screen. Let's see if I can do that quickly. Okay, let me put it on the screen, and it is from my family in Asia. That just makes it, big. I'm showing off. Okay, so the question I'm suspecting is from Juanita. It says, "Hi, Uncle. Just wondering, at what age should your parents allow you, without checking your phone, even if you're not always proven responsible, just general privacy, trust, and autonomy?" Easy answer. When you move out. When you move out of the house, my dear, okay? When you move out of the house, and it seems rigid, it seems blunt, but it's true. When you leave the house, the autonomy you speak of, the privacy especially, trust is, I don't think trust should be in there. Your parents trust you more than you know. The privacy and autonomy, those, however, are verticals that you can only really truly live out when you're on your own. Whilst you have mom and dad in the scene, they have work to do with you. And the journey is as pleasurable or as good as both parties make it. And so mom has to be vulnerable. Dad has to be vulnerable. Dad has to be pliable. And mom more so. But you, as the younger one, you need to know, and I've said this to many of us in previous lives, that you need to know that the backdrop of their concern for you is love. You show love when you are when you're bold enough to tell your young ones the truth. When you think about it, kids who've left home and they've not been exposed to most of what you've heard over your lifetime, they will never get to hear it. Your parents love you unconditionally. And so when they see red flags, they deal with it. Whether you love it, whether it's comfortable or not, they deal with it. The only advice I have for parents is, 1, start early, and 2, be transparent too. Like I said, it mustn't be blind obedience. You don't order them to do things. You talk to them. Talk with them. With will suggest that it's give and take, But ultimately, a parent who, like from your question, possibly checks your phone, allows you to do certain things and doesn't allow you to do certain things, you may feel privacy is non-existent and you don't have any autonomy. If you feel that way, there's something that can be done about that. And I would always say discussions will fix that quickly. And I'm kind of biased because I know the parents we're talking about. And needless to say, the foundation is love. And because of that love, you do well to listen, give feedback, because it's not an excuse, but my background, feedback was not a thing. You do and just do. But you have an opportunity to ask questions. Like I said, we must encourage those questions and give answers, appropriate answers. An informed parent, excuse me, will be well equipped to handle those dodgy times of questioning. But those questions have to be addressed. And you are encouraged to ask questions if you don't understand why things are done. You're also duty bound, and I'm spending time to explain this because I, like them, love you unconditionally. You have a duty to listen, even if you've heard it like a clanging cymbal. The reason why it appears to be a clanging cymbal, because the truth is the truth and it won't change. Okay? If you're asking parents to change the truth because you're growing older, it's not going to happen. The truth is the truth. And of course, you know the truth I'm talking about. So if we deploy that information to you 3 years ago, why would it change? Yes, we will adapt as parents on the leeway we give you, because that's the right thing to do, because you're growing, and with the growth, you've matured. But if we're not seeing the kind of maturity, and God gives us discernment, if we don't see that maturity follow the age, not that I'm suggesting that's the case with you, we stay where we are. Do you understand? So that information, which is true then and true now, can be communicated effectively. Now, as you mature and show that you can be autonomous and you earned your privacy, we hands off. And that's what parents do. A very long-winded way to address your question, but it was worth every second. Juanita, you're very welcome. I know you've just said that you're thankful. I also know that you didn't expect a different answer. It's just that you wanted to hear it again. That's why I love you so much. Okay. Folks, believe me, it is incredibly lonely without questions like that, because then I'm just going on a tangent, a good tangent, but I'm just going on a journey on my own. But knowing that you are there and you speak is really, really encouraging. And I hope those who watch this later on can gain as much as I know you can from the information we've shared. Okay? So we've covered situation awareness. We've covered how you handle things online and how you handle things offline. Offline will suggest on the streets while you're out and about. There are ways that kids can engage on both, rather in both arenas. And we listed several points that you as a parent must inform them on both platforms. And you do well, getting this information to them repeatedly. Don't just think it's a one-off. Like I said, you have to start early. Get them to be critical thinkers. Don't block them. Don't shut them off or shut them down when they have an opinion. Let them think for themselves, because that will help when they are exposed online or offline to strangers, rogues, and crooks. It will really help. So let them open up. Let them be themselves. The young one, if you've happened to hear me, the video is designed for parents, but if you've happened to come across this content, you have to play your part in this journey. Yours is to be the child and let them be the parent. And then there's a balancing act because there is transparency on both fronts. And you bring something to the table, your parents bring something to the table, and that will work in your favor. Also, in our favor as parents and guardians over you. Okay? It's been a blast. I've enjoyed every minute, even though I'm looking at the time so that I don't go over. Didn't have to do that because it's a natural conclusion to a wonderful time. I suppose I'm encouraged because someone else will pick this video and run with it. And I'm also encouraged that we at no point showed tech. Didn't open the phone. I didn't do anything. We just conversed. I have said it and I'll say it again that this format is going to change. So help me God, it will change so that we can have a more frequent time and just kind of have a podcast feel. We started it, but I kind of ran out of steam on visitors or guests. Not to talk about it now because it's probably not appropriate, but we would revisit it. When we do, we'll start this again and we can have engagements. People can just pop in. Some can phone in. We have all the kits to handle that. Okay? All right. So we never like ending our broadcast without giving you, the viewer, you who has come this afternoon, morning, to engage with me. We give you an opportunity to become a part of this community. We obviously welcome your comments, your feedback. We have a lot of ways that you can do that. Go to the website, familycyberclinic.com. You have a WhatsApp chat thing there that you can ask any question. We would rather you go to comments, whether this is after the broadcast itself, and just ask your questions there and we can come back and answer. We also have opportunities for you to book a chat with me and talk about anything, and then we can speak autonomously, at your own time and convenience. But we want you to be a part of this family. You do that by subscribing, and by proxy, you get to tell those connected to you, your family and friends, about this video and the other videos in the portal. Okay? So until next week, when we resume our weekly schedule, been your host, Lawrence Edem. God bless and goodbye.